So glad to have everybody here today. I know people are writing in the chat, but I can't look at that right now and keep up with what I have to do. So welcome everybody. Some Zoom tips for everyone. We suggest you open your chat box now and keep it open during the worship. It's probably on the bottom left of your Zoom screen or in the middle. And once you do it, let us know that you're here by typing in a greeting in the chat. And make sure you have your chat set to all panelists and participants so that you're able to see your chat messages. Participant video and audio are automatically disabled for worship, so there's no need to worry about those settings. That means no one can see you or hear you during the worship, so just show up as you are. And if you have trouble with the audio on your computer, you can always mute your computer sound and dial in on the phone and hear the audio while you watch the video on your computer. Now, folks, if you aren't receiving emails from us, please let us know. That is our way of communicating with you. We want to know who you are and be connected. If you're brand new and just been coming for the last couple of weeks, please send us an email. Let us know what you're thinking. My name is Karen Hutt, and I am the adjunct minister here at First Universalist Church in Minneapolis. These days, a welcome can come in many forms. Sometimes when we're walking, which so many of us are doing, you pass carefully the 6-foot distance with another person, and they stop and they smile and acknowledge your humanity. And it's a reminder that social distancing is an oxymoron. Sometimes you open your door and a box is left on your doorstep. That someone left to remind you that you are part of a community, that you are welcome through the objects that they leave inside for you. If a welcome is not a handshake or a hug, it might be an emoji or that special heart that the kids make with their hands. I can't quite do it. Or better yet, a chat room with hundreds and hundreds of souls like you who have clicked on a link and are using punctuation in ways that our grammar school teachers would probably object to. But we're making connections through all the emotion that we can create through an exclamation point or a face that smiles. Showing up today, we're all engaged in the act of reminding ourselves that we are welcome here. And this is who we are at First Universalist, a community that adapts our welcome into the next place that love is calling us. And today it is here with all of you. Now, you like me, we may miss seeing your pew mates and eating egg rolls after service and listening to corny jokes in the social hall. I'm not saying any names, but you know who you are. Even though we are missing that human touch, this community has good muscle memory, good social muscle memory. Our welcome muscle memory can be seen in the chat and the extraordinary ways that we are maintaining connection. We welcome you with your doubts and your fears. We welcome you with the hope in humanity. And we welcome you with your rage and anger. We welcome you with your joys and concerns. And yes, those corny jokes. If you are visiting, we welcome you. If you are here every week, we welcome you. And if you are seeking a thoughtful, fun-loving spiritual home to grow in, to live in, and to be shut in with, we welcome you. Now it is time for you to get your chalice or your candle and join us in our chalice lighters. With Pierce is going to be our chalice lighter, Pierce Bourne Burnham. And our reader today is Rosanna Mamdani.
Please join me in the words for the lighting of our chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
I'm Lauren Wyeth. I'm the Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministries at First Universalist Church, and I have a story for you this morning by Doreen Cronin. I've adapted it a little bit for our use, but I picked it because it's nearly Earth Day, and it seemed like the perfect story for these times. It's called Bloom. Once there was a beautiful glass kingdom. Its tall towers and ornate homes, all the furnishings, all the decorations, and even the streets were made of bright, polished glass. Among the people of the kingdom lived an unusual little creature, a fairy whose name was Bloom. Bloom wore big boots caked with mud, and she had dirt between her teeth and beetles in her wings. Wherever she went, she left cracks and dirty fingerprints behind. Now, Bloom possessed some powerful magic. She could turn sand into glass, and she could turn weeds into blossoms, or a tiny trickle of rainwater into a rushing stream. But the larger and shinier the kingdom became, the less the people seemed to care about Bloom's magic, and the more they seemed to care about the messes she always left behind. Now, one day, Bloom had had enough of their belly aching, and she packed up her things and moved into the heart of the forest. She was very happy with her decision, as were all the people of the kingdom. Over the years, the kingdom fell into disrepair. The towers were crumbling, the streets were disintegrating, and everything was covered in a gritty layer of broken glass. The king was reminded of the powerful creature who used to live among them and decided to take his court and his guards into the forest to ask her for help. As the king and his entourage stomped their way down the forest path, Bloom heard their footsteps and went to greet them. "I am looking for a magical creature gone so many years ago," the king said. "I am here," said Bloom. Well, the king looked at her dirty hair and muddy hands and said, "Show me the magic that will save my kingdom." Bloom produced a bucket of mud and placed it at his feet. "How dare you?" he responded, and he and his entourage, well, they just turned on their heels and left. "Suit yourself," said Bloom, and went back to her play. When the king returned to the palace empty-handed, the queen surmised that his deep voice must have frightened the delicate fairy, and so it was that she got on her favorite horse and rode off into the forest to see what she could do. Bloom heard the hoofbeats and went to greet her visitors. "I am looking for a magical creature gone so many years ago," said the queen. "I am here," said Bloom. The queen looked at her dirty hair and muddy hands. "Show me the magic that will save my kingdom," she demanded. Well, Bloom produced a bucket of mud and placed it at her feet. "How dare you?" exclaimed the queen, and she turned her steed back toward the palace. "Suit yourself," said Bloom, and went back to her play. When the queen returned, rainwater was leaking through the palace roof and broken glass littered the floor. "Clearly, that fairy is too frightened to talk to royalty," she announced to the king. "We must send someone ordinary." And she summoned Shard, the smallest and quietest person in the whole kingdom. Shard's only job was to wash and dry the queen's glass sugar spoon, which happened to be the only object in all the land that had yet to crack. "You are our last hope," said the queen. "I will not fail you," Shard said bravely, brushing broken glass from his shoulders. Bloom heard his quiet footsteps as he entered the forest and went to greet him. "I am looking for a magical creature gone so many years ago," said Shard. "I am here," said Bloom. "Have you any magic to save our kingdom?" asked Shard, and Bloom produced a bucket of mud. "Perhaps if I explain," said Shard. "The kingdom is falling to pieces and must be rebuilt from the ground up." Bloom produced a shovel and laid it beside the bucket. I'm happy to help you with your chores," said Shard, "but could you please show me the magic first?" "What is your job?" Bloom asked. "Well, I wash and dry the Queen's glass sugar spoon," said Shard. "Is that all you know how to do?" asked Bloom. "I don't know," answered Shard. "Follow me," said Bloom. And she led Shard to a clearing where a small house sat beside a very large mud pit. "Let's make some magic," said Bloom. She scooped up 2 large handfuls of mud and fashioned them into a mud pie. "Now you," she said brightly. And so it was that Shard, on his 12th try, with lots of encouragement, fashioned a lopsided pie made of beautiful brown mud. "Perfect," pronounced Bloom. And then she showed him how to add straw to mud to make bricks, and how to add sand to mud to make mortar. Brick by brick, wall by wall, they built a whole house. "Now," said Bloom, "it's time for you to return to the kingdom and show them what you can do." "They'll never believe that an ordinary boy can make magic," Shard worried. But Bloom pointed him toward the path, and he bravely set off for home. With mud caked on his slippers, dirt between his teeth, and beetles in his hair, Shard knocked on the glass door of the palace, which promptly shattered. "I am here," he announced. And then that ordinary boy got to work and rebuilt the kingdom. Now, if you, like me, are an ordinary, non-magical creature, I hope you too will take note of the good magic this story teaches us. The magic of listening, the magic of play, and the magic of mud. May we use this magic for good and help build a world filled with mutual respect, friendship, dirt, and beauty. And now we have a song from our special musical guest, who I know as Ruby's mom, but most of us know as Ellis Delaney.
Whisper to me if you're near enough. I need your strength, wisdom and love. All that I hope for and all I regret. Hold a wrestling match in my head. Follow the sun, I can almost hear you say. Look for what's bright, it's easier to find your way. In the middle of winter, spring seems far away, but with patience, kindness and trust, maybe a little mud, in times like these, we find what we're made of. Walking outside, set against the wind. I was pushing, leaning forward when the wind shifted. Full of momentum, I lost my balance. Hello there, my friend, surrender. I cried and laughed for all the hellos and goodbyes. It can feel like a 1-2 punch. We live and we die, and we love and we lose. We don't really know why we're here, and why everything changes. In times like these, we find what we're made of. I swore it was you there, listening and whispering to me. Or maybe it was just the wind in the leaves. But I felt my heart lift and my burdens ease. The gift of grace was tender. How do I find more love, wisdom and grace? And how do I know if I'm headed the right way? Can I live in the questions and find more space in this rushing past everything world. Oh, yes. My friends, I'm so glad we're in this together.
Thank you so much, Ellis, for bringing your music and your big heart. I forgot that I can't actually listen to you sing without almost bursting into tears. Your music just opens me up. Times like this, times like these, we find what we're made of. And I am so glad that we are in this together. So glad that we are in this together. So friends, let's sit in the sweetness of that song for a moment. Let's sit in that sweetness, moving into a few moments of shared silence, letting our hearts stay open as we move into this time of prayer. I invite you to put down what you're holding in your hands, the to-do list that might be in your head, the grocery list that part of your mind is already writing. Let's just be here for a moment together. As we breathe in and out, this shared breath that connects us across all time and space. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable. Let your gaze be soft. Let our muscle memory remind us of what it is like to be together. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. That was the mantra from DJ D-Nice on Instagram when I joined in for his club quarantine set on Wednesday. And it has become my prayer this week. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. D-Nice's frequent virtual dance parties are one of the many wonderful things that's come from this pandemic. When I joined in on Wednesday, there were over 16,000 people listening along, dancing along, moving our bodies to the music in a global dance party assembled and curated by a polymath DJ based in LA. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let it breathe, he said, between songs, all the while spinning records that made us move, made us sway, made us dance in our kitchens, in our bedrooms, in our basements. It took a pandemic. I've been hearing that a lot lately in conversation with many of you. I've been saying it a lot lately. It took a pandemic. For some, it took a pandemic to develop our spiritual practice. It took a pandemic to embrace the fourth step in recovery. It took a pandemic to make us walk every day, to make us have dance parties with our kids, our spouse, our cat, ourselves. It took a pandemic to remind me that this is my one wild and precious life. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Great Spirit, unnameable mystery, we are breathing differently now. We beings on this planet, we are more aware of this breath. And it is hard to breathe through some of the masks that some of us are wearing. It is hard to breathe through some of these masks. It is even harder to breathe through the mask that some of us aren't wearing. And so we hold our breath, or we breathe shallowly as we can as we walk past each other, past hospitals, past cemeteries. We hold our collective breath, waiting for that great big exhale when this is all over. Yet even as we hold our breath, we can feel that the planet is breathing differently. Have you felt this? Sometimes when I walk, I visit our tree friends. I reach out and I touch them. You can do this too. I ask the tree, how are you breathing now? How are you breathing now that there are fewer cars, fewer planes, less stuff that our powers of economic respiration, even while this is slowly depriving you, this tree, this earth, of your life? Our planet is breathing differently right now. And that mantra comes back to me. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. And there are so many things that we are carrying right now, things that open us up to the breath of life, things that make our breath tighten. And so I invite you now to share in the chat box those things that are making your chest tight, those things that are making your heart ache, the sorrows that you are carrying in this tender and complicated time. And as we receive these sorrows, these things that we are carrying, I invite us all to surround them in our love. We carry more together than we possibly can alone. The people we're missing, the loneliness we feel, the fear, the uncertainty. And so, friends, today, to acknowledge the heartache and loss that our dear friends are bearing, and to hold the light in each human heart as sacred, we light a candle in the memory of Alfred Neufeld. May his light and life shine on in all of us. Friends, these are days of mourning and endurance. And these are also days of surprising grace. In the midst of breaths that are big and heavy and hard, we also have moments of lightness, moments when the breath is deep and effortless, when our lungs and hearts fill with sweetness. And so I invite you to speak aloud in your homes, whisper silently in your hearts, share in the chat your joys, your surprises, the things that are keeping you going right now. Mm. Yeah, the spring, the warmth, the sunlight, return of the birds. I have to say, it always does my heart so good to see the gratitudes, the joys flowing in our congregation so quickly. What a gift. All these joys and gratitudes. We are grateful. We are blessed. Friends, may the grip of addiction be loosened. May the weight of oppression be lightened. May grief be shared. May joy break through. And may love make every suffering bearable for us all. May it be so, and amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's so good to be together with all of you this morning, to see the sun shining. Oh, man, that is doing my heart a world of good, a world of good. And it's great to be in this space with you. My name is Ruth MacKenzie, and I am one of the ministers at First Universalist Church. So good to be together. So friends, I don't know about you, but I don't hold on to my dreams very often. I mean, I remember the scary ones. Those definitely stay in the old noggin. But those little kind of everyday dreams, they just kind of fly out of my head whenever I wake up. So recently, though, in this COVID-19 crisis, I've been remembering even those tiny dreams, those little messages that I'm sending to myself. Or maybe they're messages of that great wisdom, that great life energy that lives in me and you and moves through us and among us and beyond us. Letters from God. That's what Walt Whitman used to call them. Anyway, I'm remembering those little dreams. Like oftentimes I'm on a bus these days in my dreams. I'm on a bus with a whole bunch of people. We don't know where we're going. We're just going somewhere. And we're talking, and even though I don't know where we're going, I feel okay because we're all on the bus together. Another really exciting one is standing by a door. I'm just standing by the door. That's what I'm doing. Earlier this week, I had a dream about our compost bin. Strange, but true. So we have this really big compost bin in the back of our yard. It's made of a wooden frame, and it has these 2x4 slats that you can take in and out so you can work with the material inside. And in the dream, I go out to the compost bin, I throw open the top, Then I take this bucket of food scraps and I throw it into the compost bin and take a bunch of leaves, throw those on top of the food scraps. Then I let that lid shut. Then I find myself turning to the west, and the sun is shining on my face, and it feels so good, that warmth just coming down over my whole face, my whole shoulders, just everything. And then I open my eyes and I see this huge white pine that's in our neighbor's backyard. I mean, this tree towers over 3 or 4 different backyards in our block. It must have been planted maybe 70 or 80 years ago, and it is magnificent. So I'm looking at that tree, I'm feeling the sun on my face, and a voice comes over me. And it doesn't really say any words, but I know what it's trying to tell me. And what it tells me is, crap goes in and soil comes out. Yeah, nothing super insightful really, but there it is. Because indeed that's what happens at a compost bin. The crap goes in and something rich and deep and wonderful and life-giving comes out. So I don't know if you or your family compost, and if you don't garden or you don't compost much, let me tell you a few things about composting. First, composting is nasty. It is nasty and it's gross. Oh, it's just terrible. Nobody in my house actually wants to compost. First, you have to get some kind of container to collect all your food scraps during the week. And you keep that container underneath your sink or beside the sink, and you fill that container with all the different food scraps that you use as you make your meals. You can put banana peels in there, onion skins, let's see, broccoli stalks, tea bags, cardboard from your takeout. So you collect that food scraps all through the week, and then you hike it out to the compost bin. Well, let me tell you, after a week of that stuff being in that container, you open that lid and it is so gross. It just stinks. And it just slops out of the container as you throw it into the compost heap. I mean, sometimes I have to work to keep my food down. Then you have to throw leaves over the food scraps. You can't just leave them open. You have to cover them up a little bit. So you throw leaves over those food scraps. And let me tell you another hint about that. Sticking your hands in a pile of leaves that you collected in the fall in order to cover the compost heap is just about as gross as collecting the food scraps. It's not pretty. Then the whole thing in the winter just freezes solid. You can't move anything around. It is just this layering of goo and leaves and goo and leaves. In the springtime, though, when the sun is higher in the sky and everything starts to warm up a bit, you can work with this compost. So composting, in my mind, is this interesting blend of science, artistry, and I'm going to argue spirituality. It takes all three. First, you take your pitchfork, you kind of shove it into the compost bin and you move things around. You turn things over. You work with it. That brings air into all that mass and it makes room. It makes room for things to happen. And you're trying to wake up those little microbes that are in the dirt so they can start eating the bacteria of the food waste. Then you can water your compost a little bit. You want to keep that compost moist so that those little microbes, those little change agents that are making things happen in the compost, that they're happy, that they're well fed so that they can multiply. Then there's some artistry involved. You have to kind of do some balancing between, is there enough nitrogen? Is there enough carbon? So you throw in a little bit more grass, you throw in a little bit more leaves, you kind of work with it, just figuring out what next. Finally, when things are really going well, that compost really starts cooking. Transformation really starts happening. And when it does, you can feel it. That compost heap is hot. It's just hot. Transformation, you can feel it. My friends, we are in the middle of a compost heap, a mess of slimy societal goo and garbage, dried out layers of leaves and ways of doing things that need to change. This disaster will forever change us, and it should. What we used to call normal is not normal. Black activist Sonia Renee Taylor and author of The Body Is Not an Apology writes this: "We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity." Friends, we are experiencing our normal laid bare. The poorest of us, the most vulnerable of us, the most thrown away of us are bearing the heaviest burden of this crisis. 70% of the deaths in Chicago are Black people. Karen just told me this morning that every death in Virginia is Black people. Instead of standing outside of the governor's mansion decrying the fake crisis, we should be swarming the halls of every governing body decrying the normal of racism and inequity. Our supply chains and arrive just on time system of goods and services is killing us right now. Our economy based on 70% consumerism is not only unsustainable, it is taking a free fall. The fraying of our democratic process, our principles, and our values are in stark relief right now as we watch our neighbors in Wisconsin take their lives in their hands to vote. Disasters lay bare, and they also create movement in frozen systems. Things that were once deemed unstoppable stopped. Things that we once said were unimaginable happened. Like a pitchfork stuck into the middle of a compost heap and creating room, COVID has made room for the seemingly impossible to happen. Increased worker rights, sick leave, renter protection, freeing imprisoned people, clear skies, moving $1 trillion in the blink of an eye. We're still inside the compost heap. We're still in the goo of danger, of systems based on the philosophy that life is for exploitation. Those who benefit from the status quo, the wealthy, the white, the financial titans, and the corporate big dogs, they want us all to go back to normal. But we are also in the muck of possibility right now. We are in possibility right now of what ifs becoming right now. We've known for decades that the way we make things, get things, spin things is at war with the earth. We're witnessing what happens when we don't move around so much, when we don't consume so much, when we don't buy so much. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, carbon emissions around the world have plummeted. Reports say that air over Los Angeles, Beijing, and New Delhi is miraculously clean. Parks around the US that have been closed to human visitors are finding that the wildlife, the plant life is finding new space to breathe and grow and live. In this moment of crisis, in this muck of compost, we are being called to use our science, our artistry, and our spirituality. And we know how to do this as Unitarian Universalists. A very, very long time ago, our ancestors said faith has to be connected to reason, has to be connected to the natural sciences and the way the world actually works. We believe in science. We know that we are co-creators with the world, with one another, with the divine. We understand that we are artists, that we are change agents. And we know that the old polarities of right versus wrong, of happy versus sad, are just not complex enough to hold the crisis that is unfolding before us. White writer and scholar Rebecca Solnit says we have to move into a new polarity, a new spiritual polarity of depth versus shallow. That's what we need to do, and we understand this as Unitarian Universalists. We understand that the grief, the sorrow, the heartache, the pain, the suffering that we are carrying right now is not a spiritual failure. It is the harbinger of a compassionate, transformational life. That's what we know. We know how to go deep. On April 22nd, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And I'm pretty sure that's why I dreamed about a compost bin. And I'm pretty sure that's why I looked at this great old tree in our neighbor's backyard and asked for wisdom. And I'm pretty sure that's why that stupid little phrase gave me such wisdom. The crap goes in and something life-giving, rich and deep can come out. During the confluence of this COVID-19 and the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, we are being asked to do more than just think about right and wrong or happy or sad. We are being asked to go deep versus shallow. We are being asked to live as fully as we can into our principles, that we are part of an interconnected web, that everything is connected. Solnit tells us that that is the first understanding that becomes crystal clear during a disaster. Everyone understands. Everything is connected. We are being asked to live as fully as we can into the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. And we are being asked to lean into the free and responsible search for truth, because that's how we're going to find our way forward. 50 years ago, the image that you're about to see went viral around the world. It is a photo taken from the Apollo 8, and it is called Earthrise. Yes, we went to the moon, and we thought we were going to just the moon, but in fact, we were actually going a great distance to observe ourselves, our home. Today, 50 years later, we are being given the harsh opportunity to observe ourselves again from the intimate of our living rooms, our walks 6 feet apart, our work at a distance, and our work up close with a mask around our face and gloves on. And what we sense, friends, rather than hear, is everything is connected. Transformation is not only possible, it is upon us. We are in the midst of it. It is our spiritual work to bring about something rich and deep and life-giving in the process. We know how to do this as a people of faith. May it be so, and amen. This morning, our offering will be split once again 50-50 between the church and our ministers' emergency fund, offering vital support to keeping us connected and caring for each other and the wider community, and providing immediate support to those who are having difficulty meeting the basic needs of shelter, food, and healthcare. Giving to and receiving from the Minister's Emergency Fund is one of the tangible ways we remember what is true. That when we share what we have, each of us receiving and giving in our turn, we have what we need. You can give in many ways, and you will see those options on your screen. You can text to give via a Cash App, give through our website, or go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way. Just send a check into the church. Every gift matters, and we are so very, very grateful for your generosity. And now I really want to hear a song again. It is so great to have Ellis back in our worship with us. I can't tell you how happy I was when she said yes to performing in our worship service on her very birthday. So she's going to sing this beautiful song called Bird on a Wire. Let it touch your heart.
Thank you so much, Ruth, and Arif, too, for sharing the breathing it in, or letting it breathe. I feel like, yeah. Go. I can't believe we're in this situation. My heart breaks thinking it's too late. We draw lines, the temperatures rise, and the ocean doesn't care what land it takes. Oh, how did we get so disconnected? I'm plugged in, but I'm out of touch. Or can I find my way back to the garden? Break the spell that's got a hold on us. There's a bird on a wire in between the ground and sky. I can hear the song she's singing. I can hear holy joy ringing like a prayer on the wind. A touch of grace, hearing it. The love and peace we think is missing is right here all the time. I keep thinking I am one person, icebergs melting, what can I do? Oh, now or never, never seemed so urgent. I worry about the weather, I never used to. I think of all the plastic in the ocean. It's part of nearly everything I buy. How do I change it? All the habits. It's hard to see we're running out of time. We can't buy more time. There's a bird on a wire. Maybe maybe if we heal our deepest wounds, generations of carried pain. I care about our children's children. It's time to do something. Oh, can we do something? There's a bird on a wire in between the ground and sky. I can hear the song she's singing. I can hear holy joy ringing like a prayer on the wind. A touch of grace, hearing it. The love and peace we think is missing is right here all the time. Somewhere inside you and I, there's a bird on a wire.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellis. So beautiful, so beautiful. Lately, at the end of different Zoom meetings that I've been hosting or attending, I've been asking people to bless one another. And it has been so amazing to listen to the different blessings that people are bestowing on one another, on the world, on themselves. Sometimes they'll say something like courage, perseverance, resilience, peace, love. Well, today I'd like to have us bless one another in song. It's a song that is near and dear to so many of us, but especially all the youth. I got to tell you, whenever I take them to Boston, this is a song they want to sing. It's the Blue Boat Home, and let's sing it all together right now, as loud as we can, and bless this beautiful world and bless our beautiful lives in it together. Here we go.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat.
Oh, thanks for singing with your heart wide open. Everyone, there's so many opportunities in which to connect, to keep your spirit buoyed during this time of hardship and surprise. So please make sure that you go to our website or check out that liberal and look at all the different ways in which you can connect with one another. I want to remind everyone that we have worship on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. and we hope that all of you will attend. And there's so many wonderful things that happen right after that Wednesday worship. There's a calming circle with me. You can go out with the young adults afterwards, or you could connect with the choir. Many different things happening on Wednesday night. I also want to remind people that we are at the end of our annual giving campaign, and that ends next Sunday. So please, if you haven't gotten your pledge in yet, please do so now so we can see what we're working with as we move forward in our church year. And finally, I want to remind you that we are here for you, that we are in this together. We're on this bus together. We don't know where we're going, but it feels better that we're together in it. And so let us know if you're having a hard time of it, if you need support in any way, financial, emotional, whatever it may be. We're there for one another, and we will support one another. It's good to be a part of this faith community that cares so deeply. And so, my friends, we're in the middle of a compost heap, that's for sure. The danger and the opportunity of this crisis. May we dig deep in our faith, knowing that something rich and life-giving is not only possible, it is happening right now. We know how to do this, and we will do it together as a people of faith. May it be so, and amen. Let's sing Go Now in Peace together.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
And as we leave this meeting, let us write, I carry the flame, because indeed we do. Extinguishing the chalice and write, I carry the flame in my heart. Amen.